Whatever frequency that we're operating in, we are actually calling more of that to us. Our multiple parallel realities are happening at the same time. We're taught to, someone pisses you off, you know, match their energy. There's no such thing as matching energy when you're trying to change your life. Happiness, joy, things of that nature, just high vibrating states. The Hello, guys. Welcome back to Here We Grow. I am your host, Chancellor Verge. This is my co host, my mommy. Say hey. Don't be rude. Okay, cool. So we're just going to hop right in today, y'all. Today, as you see in the title, we will be talking about quantum shifting, quantum leaping, and identity shifting. So, I don't know if you guys are familiar with this, so I'll give you just some background. So, the foundation of this episode will be the foundation of all the other episodes that will be talked about in the future. So, I don't know if you guys are familiar with quantum leaping or quantum physics in general. I will provide the definitions here, probably. Yeah. Um, so, I'm just going to look it up for you so you can get like an actual definition from the dictionary versus what how I have came up with my own definition. Sorry guys, I'm a little spaced out because I'm just spaced out, like, but bear with me, okay? So, quantum physics is the study of matter and energy at the most fundamental level. It aims to uncover the properties and behaviors of the very building blocks of nature. While many quantum experiments examine very small objects such as electrons and photons, quantum phenomena are all around us, acting on every scale. And then quantum shifting is a sudden and significant change in perspective, understanding, or state of being. Okay, so here we grow. That's all we're about. We're about changing the perspective, the understanding, and your state of being. So I'm also going to provide a picture of the energy, different levels of energy going from love, and I think it ends at powerlessness. I'm not sure. I got it from the book right here, Becoming Super Becoming Supernatural, by Joe Dispenza. This is a really good book if you kind of want to get like a brief understanding of quantum physics or like energy and how the mind, body, and soul is actually connected. But um, in this book, it shows that when you are in a state of love, a state of blissfulness, joy, things of that nature, just high vibrating states, the you will see that the energy, the wavelengths are very like fast, like they're like super short and they're super quick, like you cannot see them. You Those are not things you can see with your eyes. But when you look at hopelessness, if you look at fear, if you look at revenge, or I forgot the like actual ones on there, but basically when you look at the ones that are vibrating lower, it's very slow. The wavelengths are very long, they take long, they're very dense, right? So with quantum shifting, quantum leaping, you have to first become aware of what energy or what frequency you are actually vibrating on. So, in terms to make this more sensible and more um, accessible intellectually, let's think about, in layman terms, let's think about a radio station. We all have had experiences of listening to a radio station or even different types of music. So just imagine yourself in a car, listen to the radio, and you know, like for instance, in Mississippi, like the hip hop radio station is 97.1. So 97.1, you tune into there, you know you're gonna hear some hip hop, some rap. Okay, you can tune into another station, right? And so that's jazz or country, or you get the gist, right? So that's kind of what it looks like on an energetic level. It's like we're all experiencing different radio frequencies at different times, but we can also assess we can receive that energy and that frequency, and we also can emit that frequency as well. So simultaneously, while we can shift into different frequencies, we are also emitting a specific frequency as well. I hope that makes sense. I'm trying to like articulate as I'm processing. So when you quantum leap, right? One, you have to be aware of what, sorry y'all, you know my dog is in the background. You have to be aware of what frequency or what energy you're actually operating in. So I'll give my personal example. For example, before I became aware consciously, I would say I was on the frequency level of the world, of the physical reality, right? We already know that the physical reality in itself is a very dense reality. It mostly operates in the fear energy level or the fear frequency. So most people are worried about either their lives being taken from them, they're worried about the ability to pay rent, they're worried about maybe the way they look, what type of success, physical, material success that they can acquire, things of that nature, right? And so while it's not necessarily like a bad thing to play into the game in that way, but what happens is when you tune your frequency into such a low and dense frequency, you begin to become like the wavelengths. You become very like long. You become anchored in reality, in the gravity of reality, and you aren't able to actually tune to other things. So the important thing to understand here is that you have the ability to shift at any point. If you have experienced poverty for majority of your life, okay, or if you experience a lack of any sort, even in that experience right now, you can shift your mindset into a mindset of abundance immediately. And with that shift, you automatically tap into a whole nother parallel reality that fits that frequency. Okay? Does that make sense? So, one big thing for me that's been important is peace. My mind was very chaotic at one point. I had a lot of thoughts just roaming around for no apparent reason. And we know that our mind, we just think things all the time. The issue is that we're not able to determine what actually serves us and what doesn't. We just kind of let everything hang out. With quantum shifting, you are aware of the fact that you have a lot of unnecessary thoughts, a lot of unnecessary emotions in your energy space. You're able to clear them out, and you're able to consciously choose which ones that you want to actually operate in. So now my life is a complete reflection of that peace. For one, I live alone, and I'm not saying that you need to live alone to get peace, but it's quite peaceful. But I live alone. My job is very peaceful. It aligns with not only mostly it aligns with my my spiritual practices, the things that I engage with daily, but also it gives a perfect work-life balance. Like, I work from home a certain amount of days. I'm in the office, and when I'm in the office, I get to travel around and go into the community to meet clients. So I get to really it's a natural state of being for me to not be so sit in the office and sedentary all the time, right? So I manifested this a long time ago because at one point in my life, I was living in a chaotic mindset, in a chaotic space. But I always dreamed about being peace, and I always acted in a peaceful way. So that would be like me doing yoga, me doing meditation, right? Me reading, me going to the park, me doing like working out. For some people might be peaceful for them. So the idea behind quantum leaping is making a sudden or abrupt change in your energy and not really paying attention to what's going on right now. You know that on TikTok, when they were going through their whole trend of the Lulu is the Salulu, Okay. Yes, to an extent, that term, that phrase is correct because what we see with our physical eyes, like even me in this apartment right now, is actually a dead world. This is like, I already created this. This is what I've created. So technically, this is done, and I really have no other thing to do here because it's already done. But presently, right now, I'm consciously choosing what I want to say, what I want to think, how I want to behave, how I want to carry myself to match the future, or to match the point of my where I see myself when everything is completely aligned, where I am at the point of life that I see I'm doing my best. Okay. So it's a very tricky process because what happens is, in this world we're so used to being so real with ourselves, and so used to always speaking it how it is, and I always have to point out the wrong and the negative. But it's very detrimental when you're trying to move into a space of abundance, of a space of peace, in a space of love and joy, because when you get to those spaces are actually unconditional. So even when you witness things, or you experience things that are not necessarily favorable for you, right? You understand that just because you experience it doesn't mean that it has to be your reality, that you can actually shift it. What you see is actually not a bad or negative thing. It just is what it is. How we respond to it determines where we are energetically. So yeah, that's why, like when you see homeless people and how happy they are, like just how most of them, some of them, how happy they can be, and just like the wisdom that they have, and like you be like, man, if I was homeless, I would not feel this happy. I would not be able to have a smile on my face. That is like literally somebody practicing quantum shifting, quantum leaping, because even though their physical reality is not necessarily matching their spiritual state, it shows that they realize that the physical is not actually reality. It's a manifestation, a materialization of our thoughts. So once we realize that everything is actually energy, either very fast and full of love and full of creative energy, creative authenticity, of authenticity, or it can be on a lower spectrum of fear, of worry, of hate, of revenge, of anger, powerlessness. So today I want to just challenge you to just think about something that, for one, think about where your energy has been. Think about, for the last couple of years, what energy have you been operating in? What frequency, what radio station have you been tuning into? What station? Once you recognize that, then I want to challenge you for the next week to just try a different one. Even if something happens, if something crazy happens, like traffic, right? Like if there's a wreck and you're late to work, things always happen for a reason, right? Nothing is a coincidence. Thank yourself for that gratitude. Listen to your favorite song. Get excited that you have time to slow down. I understand it's not that simple, but it really is that simple. And it's something that you have to want for yourself, to understand that you are, one, capable of doing it, and two, that you are worthy to feel good. We're never taught to learn how to stay elevated energetically all the time. We're taught to, someone pisses you off, match their energy. There's no such thing as matching energy when you're trying to change your life. You can't match energy when you're changing your life, because all you're doing is pulling yourself down. You're becoming more dense. You are anchoring yourself in a physical reality, one physical reality at that. So to my earlier point, we talked about, basically shifting your consciousness, shifting the energy level that you're in to a higher one, to bring in the reality that most attracts you, the reality that you see yourself at your complete, most optimal self, right? What's so interesting about the world is that, we're taught that the past, present, and future is a linear process. But energetically, that's not true. Just like I just spoke about how our physical eyes see things, and that's actually the dead world, because that is already manifested and materialized. Like, our multiple parallel realities are happening at the same time. Like, we are in an eternal now, which means the past, present, and future is happening all at the same time. That's why you see people who deal with depression, or they deal with certain like mental health struggles, and it's because their mindset has been anchored in a past life. So they're just constantly reliving it, thinking they're in the present moment, and they're not. The present is constantly shifting your perspective, constantly doing things that match who you want to be, what you want to attract to you. And then the future is that actually being created physically. I think that makes sense for myself. I might have to revisit this because this is something I'm still getting to know. I'm familiar with it, but obviously I'm sure over time that my ideas about it will become more evolved. But everything is happening right now. It's very important to really think about what we spend our time on, because if we are so anchored in the past, we can never attract the same thing. We can never attract something greater, right? Like, even going back to TikTok, because I know everybody is familiar with TikTok, or just in social media in general, right? But specifically TikTok, because TikTok does a good job in kind of being that physical example of what it looks like to be on the algorithm, energetically and spiritually. So we know you get to scrolling on TikTok and you say, oh, I like this. It could be a freaking post about horses, or maybe about butterflies. You're like, oh, I like this, and you start liking that. Next thing you know, guess what? The algorithm brings you what? Another video about horses or butterflies. Another video. You're like, dang, this must be a sign. And the truth is, it could be a sign if that's how you want to take it. But the truth is that whatever frequency that we are emitting, whatever frequency that we're operating in, however we're thinking, whatever we're doing, however we're behaving, he wants to play now. Whatever frequency that we're operating in, we are actually calling more of that to us. So back to the quantum. Kofi, can you sit down? Kofi, can you sit down? Can you sit down, please? Please and thank you. Thank you. That's a good boy. Thank you. Y'all, any other time I'll be yelling at him, because he knows what I'm doing. But, I'm in a good space right now. But yeah, so whatever frequency, whatever energy that you're operating in, guess what? The universe is going to give you evidence of that. Because this is an inclusion-based universe. Just like you say hell yes to something, like, yeah, that's it. That's my shit right there. It's gonna say, when you say no to it, it's gonna bring you more no's. So you have to be very, very careful, very intentional about not only what you're doing, but what you're saying, what you're consuming, because it'll create a system. Subconsciously, it'll start making neural pathways in your brain to become more aware of certain things, and now you're on that frequency. Isn't that just beautiful? Like, y'all, like, even just knowing that we can do that just off the rip, like, no one is teaching us how to do this, that we are literally creating our lives at every moment, every second of every minute, and we didn't even know it. Like, this is information that should be taught to us after, like, we probably like around like 5, 6, 7 years old, because when we first get here as babies, we are already familiar with this information. We know it because we just came from it, basically. But what happens is, because of the way that we were programmed, the way that we were conditioned, the way that our parents were programmed, the way that they were conditioned, the world that we live in, it all kinds of shapes us, and it indoctrinates us in a certain way. Kofi, sit down. Sit down. It programs and it indoctrinates us in a certain way that all we get to see is how we want to see it. And that's not to dismiss or minimize or be desensitize what actually goes on, for people that look like me or for other people in the world, The issue is when we constantly agree to that, we are stuck in an identity, in a timeline that does not allow for us to expand. And so that's why we feel discomfort. That's why we feel angry. That's why we feel hopeless or helpless, because we're constantly operating in a way that's not supportive of our expansion. We're always expanding. That's why when we notice things that we don't like, we automatically think about the things that we do want, right? But when you don't follow the expansion with that feeling of hopefulness, or that feeling of, I know I'm going to get this, I saw this, but I know that this is better for me and I'm going to get that, what happens is you're limiting, you're depressing yourself into a smaller state of being. And that's ultimately what depression is in my eyes. But yes. So I just want us to understand the importance of not only where we are energetically right now, but where we are choosing to be. It is our choice to choose that. And that is why quantum leaping is so important to shifting identities. That's why you see people like, oh, I'm gonna wear the clothes of the person that, if you see somebody that inspires you, you want to be like them, you want to start dressing like them. Okay, you're gonna start maybe using terms that they use, you're gonna maybe get a car that they might get, things of that nature, because that is parallel shifting. That is raising your energy to match that frequency, because you cannot get what you are not. You cannot have an energy of poverty, an energy of lack, and attract abundance, wealth, and security. It's not going to happen. And that's another reason why many of us as a people are stuck behind, or we feel stagnant, because we're reaching for things where we have not done the internal work to match it energetically. And money obviously is a big thing, but before the money, before the physical, the material manifestations, it's the energy itself. You have to be open. You have to be in a space of receiving to even allow that thing to happen. But if you're always worried about what you don't have, what you can't get, who you are not, you cannot become you cannot become who you are innately, and even create the desired reality, because you got your blinders on, baby. Let's take them off. Let's know that yes, there are certain things outside of our control that we have no hand in, but we do have full and complete control over our reality, over our thoughts, over the words that comes out of our mouths, over our behaviors, the way we treat people, the way that the energy that we emit. We do have control over that. So being aware of that will allow us to be more conscious, to level up in whatever way that we want to. And it could be small things, but be intentional, be conscious. Try to always watch yourself, watch your mind. What does it think when you do certain things, or you say certain things, or you eat certain things? It's all information that's trying to communicate with us when we are operating at our highest level. So today, let's try to raise the energy, and let's try to elevate. Thank you so much for being here. I'm always grateful to have you guys here with me. I'm also grateful for the new subscribers and the views that I have recently got. Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate y'all. If you made it to the end of this video and you haven't quite yet subscribed, please subscribe. Please like, please share, comment. If you have any topics that you really want to talk about, or something that you just want to, see me kind of unravel, please comment that below. My social medias will be included in the description, so you can DM me on platforms like Facebook or TikTok, or even Instagram. Whatever communication style works best for you. I am super open and flexible. So once again, thank you for sharing space with me today. I hope that you will join for a brand new episode next week on Here We Grow, where we are growing and evolving one day at a time, one step at a time, and one moment at a time. I'll see you next week.